My brother Yolo, all the way in from Misrata in Libya. Thanks for coming through, man.
Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about why you're in Libya, tell me, how do you feel about South Africa?
I think South Africa could be in a much better place than it is now. I think there's a lot of potential that we are not using. I don't think that we have actually sat down, or at least enough of us have actually sat down and thought about what direction we want. Generally, I think there's a learned helplessness that we've got
Yeah.
in our thinking as South Africans. We just sit there and we say, government should do this, government should do that. And they should, there's a lot that the government isn't doing that they're supposed to do. But our problem is we just rely on the government very heavily.
Mm.
And then we don't realize that a lot of what needs to happen has to be made with our own hands.
I hear you. So instead of us looking up and hoping for a solution to come down to us, we should be looking right where we are and do something that then moves up. Have I got you? Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I think politicians, such as they are, take advantage of this, right? And
Oh
that's
yeah,
why they only feed us with promises,
yeah.
because they know that we don't really have a strategy for ourselves or a plan
Hmm.
to lift ourselves up. So they have a hero mentality because
Hmm.
they know that we see them that way.
Yeah.
And we know what the results of that have been. It's been an utter disgrace, to say
Hmm.
the least.
So you think they've done a bad job when you say it's
I
been an
think they've
utter
done a
disgrace?
horrible job.
I thought they were doing a brilliant job. What makes you what makes you think they're doing a horrible job?
Whoa, where can I start? I mean, let me put it like this. I was born in the mid 90s.
Hmm.
So we were the first generation to grow up without apartheid.
Hmm.
To us, when I was a little boy, I remember my father sitting me down and telling me what apartheid was, and that just didn't make sense to me because I was too young to understand what it was.
Hmm.
And over the years, as I grew older, I realized that firstly, it was wrong to steal, and whenever we heard about corruption being a thing, whether it's in a business or in any government department or any municipality. That was a huge thing because we knew that that is wrong. What everyone knew that it was wrong to steal and that there would be consequences for it
Right.
at any level. But that disappeared over the years. Now it's just another thing. I mean, 80 billion rand has basically just disappeared from state coffers.
Yeah, that's
And
only
no
2021.
one's accounted
So
for
it's
it.
probably higher now.
I mean, think about that. I think in 2014, I had heard something like 30 billion rand for that financial year.
Hmm.
So accumulatively, we might be talking trillions.
Yeah.
And these are people stealing from other people, I mean, from the public. And these are elected officials stealing from the public, and nothing
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah.
So that's a major failure. The other thing is, growing up, even there were hawkers on the street, right? Now there's so many hawkers that there's no space to walk on the pavement. Now I've got nothing against hawkers. I know that they're making a living. They're
Yeah.
trying to feed their families. But I think the fact that it's become so much worse now that we've got so many more hawkers on the street speaks to how worse things have gotten, how the standard of living of ordinary people has worsened
Hmm.
such that more people have had to resort to that in order to make a living.
Yeah. If you can't find a job for a long time, I guess just selling some sweets on the side of the road at least buys bread, hey?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, exactly. Over the years, I've just seen everything get worse.
Hmm.
Everything. I think it was sometime during lockdown. We were driving past and I was watching these long lines at the post office, which is dysfunctional. But
Sure.
these long lines of people lining up for the 350. Again, I'm not looking down on those people. I also signed up for the grant because I was unemployed at that time.
Mm.
So I signed up for it, but I opted for it to be paid into my account, something like that. So I didn't have to line up, but just the streams and streams of lines
Mm.
just going. If there's a building, you see it going around like that, and then it would come back like
Ish.
this.
Mm.
And it's just the desperation has become worse. And
Mm.
that also speaks to the failure of the government.
Yeah.
It's really, really disgraceful. I mean, it's so disgraceful that Black people are thinking about what the apartheid government did better for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basic things like road upkeep. Again,
Mm.
I'm from the rural areas, so we don't have tarred roads.
Mm.
But even the gravel road that's there is at a worse state. So the Transkei government
Wow.
maintain that better than the municipalities now.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, I'm sure you've probably heard this also, elders who are alive then saying, these guys are so bad that they're doing worse than apartheid. Now, how bad do you have to be to do worse than
Yeah.
apartheid?
Yeah.
A
No.
system such as apartheid was better than what this supposed democracy is doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder sometimes whether it's incompetence or if it's unwillingness to do it. Maybe that's my question to you. Do you think they can't or they won't do it?
It's not in their favor, in my opinion. It's no longer in their favor to do the right thing because there's a whole system that's been set up that meets their needs. And so a clean ANC would have to lose half of its membership because half of the membership is running on corruption being part of the system. So
Right.
I think we've moved past incompetence. So I think there is incompetence, but it needs to be incompetent because the other way would collapse the whole system.
It's a sad state of affairs. My other question is this. The ANC is the oldest liberation movement in Africa. But South Africa was the last country to be liberated. So between when the ANC started and when South Africa was liberated or supposedly liberated, every other African country got its independence in that time. Now, if you look at the state of every other or most other African countries, I wonder where we would be if we had been liberated earlier. Would we be better than we are now or worse?
My thinking around that is because my interest and passion is entrepreneurship. Africa also tends to be one of the few continents where people find history interesting. If you think of any prosperous country, you have the people who are interested in the history of the country, and you find them in the university. And of course, politicians will talk about it
Mhm.
just from in terms of the founding values of the country. What you'll find happens in prosperous countries is that there's greater talk about current policy and where it's going, and a greater vision to for where the country wants to go. So I'm saying that to say this.
Right.
I don't think it makes a difference when independence liberation would have come. I think the big difference becomes if being liberated earlier would have meant vision back then we'd be better off. But if getting liberated last means still no vision, because we still looking back, which is important to look back, but you've got to then make decisions based on the vision in light of the past. And unfortunately, what we have in South Africa, in my opinion, and many African countries have gone around this circle for very long, is that they want the past to inspire their vision instead of their vision making sense
Right.
of the past. And so that's why then
Mm.
everything in the present falls apart. So I think maybe my entrepreneurial training and experience in building entities from zero, that's my thinking. I don't know. What's your take?
I have to say I really like that perspective that you've just given there, especially comparing with other countries and how they do it. It's true. I mentioned that my first job was in corporate, and one thing I learned there was those guys or that world is very matter of fact. Where are we now? What do we want to do? How do we do it? That's
Yeah.
it. I think this is terrible, but this is really what I think that if we had, say, been liberated in the 60s, instead of having Mandela and them arrested at that time,
Mm.
suppose they had overthrown the government or negotiated with the government, whatever, and won. I really think we would have been worse, or at least for a time. I
Yeah.
think it would have declined before it actually picked up.
Yeah.
And right now we are at the decline. And the worst thing is that everyone who opposed these guys at the time, and really they had good intentions,
Yeah.
but the execution was terrible. People like Clive Derby Lewis, for
Mm.
example, have
Mm.
now been proven right. And this is someone who's been arrested for murder, or at least being for being complicit in an assassination. Now
Mm.
those guys are being proven correct because they
Wow.
said the blacks cannot run it. This is what they said. Don't give power to the blacks; they can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you can't argue with that, right? On that point. Because at least these blacks have failed at it.
Yeah.
Not to say the blacks can't do it as a race, but the ones who have been in power, well, you can't defend them and say no, no, they actually can do it because they can't.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we should focus on history just to learn from it and to be aware of it, but it's not really something that we should dwell on.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't make policies based on revenge. That's just going to destroy everything.
I like what you're saying. You say it would have been worse back then, and as you said that, I thought you have a much larger size of the population more educated. Because I was looking at the numbers, and it's been leaps and bounds, right? The difference between when Mandela was educated, I remember they had like 1,000 professionals, black professionals back then. Right then, when Mandela them were learning through the Catholic schools and that. Then you had Fort Hare come in South Africa, which produced Robert Mugabe,
Right.
which produced the Botswana president and produced presidents
Yes.
in South Africa. But I looked at the numbers, and then Bantu education came in, which didn't take people up to being professionals, but at least the numbers of people who could read and write jumped, I mean, 100-fold, coming up to 1994. At least now, when people have tasted a better life, so they can even tell what decline
Right.
is. While in
Right.
1964, they wouldn't know what a decline is and have no comparison
Nope.
to make to say, no, no, we know when it's getting better and when it's getting worse, and now it's getting worse. Hence this, yeah, thing you were raising now, that some people are starting to say, huh, this is so bad, it feels like it's worse than during apartheid times.
Yes, even the discourse is better because you and I are not politicians, but we at least have ideas and opinions,
Yeah,
and we can research and we can actually put up a debate about what direction to take.
absolutely. No, exposure affects the size of potential vision.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes a difference. So
Yeah.
tell me quickly, what did you think of the soft life?
This is of course my opinion.
Yeah.
It read like sort of like a manifesto at times.
Okay.
Because I've read party manifestos. I'm not saying that to put it down. It's actually a compliment because
Okay.
that means there's a vision, there's an idea behind what is being said. It's not just words on a book. There's actually a vision that this is striving for. So it's written by someone who really cares.
Hmm.
It's just that the language tells me that this person really wants things to get better.
Yeah.
In the first chapter, you say you considered leaving the country and then you decided to stay, but that staying had to have purpose.
Yeah.
And this is what sticks out. It also outlines some of these problems accurately, like the
Hmm.
learned helplessness, the dependence on government, some of the policies that have been put in place that chase away progress, that chase
Hmm.
away business and prosperity. Also talks about the role of a government, a correct role of a government. And
Hmm.
it says that the government should uphold law and order. That's simple.
Hmm.
But that's not what we've seen. As I said earlier, over the years, we've actually watched wrongdoing not only not being punished, but being rewarded. The same
It
people who
pays.
are,
Yeah, it seems to pay, hey?
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. When we were younger, we were told crime doesn't pay. But I mean, we've seen how many presidents now come and go who admitted or who have been proven to have done wrong. Even the current president had money in his couch, but the public protector said she couldn't find any wrongdoing
There's
on
nothing
the
to see here,
president's part. I
folks.
don't
Go
know.
home. Go home. There's nothing to see here. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So now I just wonder what the adults are telling children. Is it still a thing to say crime doesn't pay? And if you say it, how are you going to justify that to your children and say it doesn't pay? Well, it clearly does. And growing up, there was this sort of dichotomy in your mind. I mean, we went to Sunday school, and we were taught all of those values.
Yeah.
So you know that this is wrong. But on the other hand, you look at the world and you go, well, these are two conflicting ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you don't say this in the book. This is what I'm saying, but you touch on youth unemployment. And I think the fact that there's so much youth unemployment has actually destroyed the country
Yeah.
because you don't just have young people, most of them educated like myself, just sitting at home or
Hmm.
trying to get a job and not succeeding.
Hmm.
But you're now creating this whole parallel citizenry or this parallel population who never went to work,
Sure.
don't have the resources that you gain from work, don't have the experience. So now there's this resentment. Why should they vote?
Yeah.
Why should they
Yeah.
partake in anything?
Hmm. And it's
Many
it's
times
literally
in
a
my,
a
yes,
whole generation.
yeah. Yes, I mean, I've been part of the statistic myself.
Hmm.
And I can't tell you how terrible it is to be a statistic, knowing that you were trying on your end, you've gone to school, you went through the education system, you got your degree, but now you're just sitting at home. And not only that, when you go out in public, you meet old schoolmates who are in the same boat. And you just look at each other
Sure.
with despondence, like what did we not do?
Hmm.
Now, here's the worst part is when you do get a job, if you're lucky to get a job in the same field that you went to school for. If you have, well done. You
Hmm.
end up taking any job because
Whatever
it's
comes. Hmm.
whatever comes, right? And then when you get there, you realize that not even school prepared you for what the job market wants. So you have to learn anew this whole set of skills that you thought you were getting at school, but they didn't give it to you. I mean, I didn't go to school for this job, but I'm here. I'm not using anything that I learned there here. So what was that for?
Are you looking forward to come back to South Africa now that you're in Libya, or are you looking at opportunities across the world and thinking from here, surely I need to go there? Is South Africa enticing you back?
Well, South Africa is home. It'll always be home. So that's where my heart is. Having said that, and now that I'm out, I'm not really enticed to come back. At least not in the short to medium term. I'll settle back home eventually, but for now now that I've got my ticket out, I'm going to use that ticket and be in Libya and go to other places, widen my experience as much as I can, earn as much as I can,
Hmm.
and then go home.
And
But yes, I'll still go home for holidays and stuff, of course.
of course, but South Africa is not
Yeah.
really enticing you and saying, "Hey, you missing out," eh? As far as
No,
opportunities
but
are
I
concerned.
do miss home though.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes,
I can imagine.
yes.
No, I
As far
can
as
imagine.
opportunities though, no,
Hmm.
no.
Sure.
I've been there. I haven't seen anything new that would bring me back. But part of my journey is to bring all of these things that I'm gaining out here back home so
Yeah.
that we can fix our country. I do want to come back and contribute.
That's the thing. We love this country so much. I mean, I can relate to what you're saying because the only reason I'm here is because, like you said, it's home. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there's been plenty reasons to jump ship. Tell me what you think about this though. Thought experiment.
Mm.
If we could have 5 million people across our population ending up reading The Soft Life, do you think that would shift the needle in any direction? And if you think so, what do you think would happen?
I think it would. If we had 5 million people read, that in itself would be an achievement because most people don't read. But if we could have 5 million people reading and reading with purpose, there are many things for myself in the book. I mean, you express some things that I've also thought about. You also, in some parts, go further, and I go, yes, of course. I'm like how you explain the money game and how money moves and all of those things.
Hmm.
That really shed some light for me to
Hmm.
think how investors and businesses and companies do business. The chapter that stood out for me was chapter 14 says, be the one. Don't operate in a crowd. If you can't find a crowd, do it yourself. Then you can be the catalyst.
Yeah.
Now, if we could have 5 million catalysts, not politicians, just ordinary people just trying to be better and to do better, that
Hmm.
would have a ripple effect
Oh
and we
wow.
could see some change in this country.
I hear
So
you, and
yes, that's what I think.
that's so awesome to hear because that's what we hoping to do. So
South Africa is such a beautiful country. As I said at the beginning, we've got a lot of potential that we're not using. I'm biased, but it's a very special place. And it's inspiring for me being away from home just to think about the fact that I come from that place. And that in itself is something, that's not nothing. The South African spirit is not something that you can get anywhere. I think it's a beautiful place, beautiful people, and we shouldn't lose hope.
yeah.
It's all in our hands.
It's all in our hands. Absolutely. I love that. So let me give you my pledge. We are back here and we're going to make sure things turn around in a productive direction. While you're out there in Libya and wherever else, please get all
Mhm.
the skills, all the experiences you can gather because very soon we're going to give you a call and say, "Dude, we're ready. Come back now. Let's make this ship fly." As far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
that's guaranteed, and that's the direction we'll go, and we will prosper.
Oh, for sure. And I'll be there. When I get that call, I'll pick up the phone and come back. I'll be there. And yeah, we can do this. We will.
Indeed, indeed. South Africa will prosper. So no, thank you so much for jumping in
Oh, yeah.
all the way from Libya. Go down to the description below. You're gonna find every connection to Yolo Njaba on Substack, on Instagram, and every other place. And make sure you download the Soft Life 3 Secrets Comrades Don't Want You to Know, and jump on this bus. Let's get 5 million South Africans to read it so that we can set the ground and get Yolo Njaba with all his skills from all around the world and many other South Africans to come back. Let's build. Let's have the best country Africa has ever imagined. And let's be that light that we know is our destiny. So, thank you so much for joining me, Yolo.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate being on the show.